All right, welcome everyone. As we were getting everything started and put together, I'm excited to have you all join me this morning. I got my handy water bottle here, so y'all will see that. And then I'll be able to connect with you all this way. And we do have a moderator here in the room. Shout out to Kimberly. Thank you so much for being with us and making sure that we get your questions answered throughout this session. I am the communications director for the Washington State's Office of Equity. And, you know, this right here, this presentation is really about how we communicate on purpose. And so happy to have all of you with us. And I'm going to go ahead and get started so we can make good use of our time today. I would love to get some introductions. Again, I will start. TraeAnna Holiday, Communications Director. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm happy to be with you all. Y'all can go ahead and put your information in the chat, and then Kimberly will let me know. We'll shine a couple of them out, right? Because this isn't so much back and forth. I thought I'd be able to see y'all's faces, but I cannot. So there's a couple things that will work out here. Later in the presentation, we will also be doing a little bit of breakout groups so y'all can connect to each other. And Kimberly will help me see some of the work that y'all be doing in your breakout groups and how we can make sure that we're connecting with all of y'all. All right. So I hope that sounds good. So do we have some introductions in the chat? Kimberly, let me know who's with us.
We got Shelly Westdot.
Shelly Westdot.
And we've got Anne from the Employee Security Department.
Hi, Anne from ESD. Hi.
Pauline from DSHS Yakima.
Right on. Hi, Pauline. Jennifer Drake. Hi. This is awesome. Teresa.
Jennifer, DCYF licensing divisions here.
Oh, hi, Jennifer, DCYF. Shout out to y'all. One last one, Kimberly. Who we got? Alondra Rodriguez. Well, thank y'all for putting your information there in the chat and engaging with me and with us. The exciting thing, can you tell me something real quick?
Yeah.
While I'm on camera? Okay. My question is, I thought I'd be able to see these participants and collaborate with them. This feels more like the webinar and I'm not able to see them.
Video is enabled.
If they don't turn on their video, then I can't see them. Okay. So thank y'all. You can. Hi, Ann. There we go.
Yeah, they joined the video.
And so if you join with video, then I can see your faces and then I can connect with you all. And this is a new. So can you give me like 2 minutes? I want to adjust because I think if I'm over at the other laptop, it will probably allow me to connect more with y'all because I'll be able to see the chat and stuff myself. Just give me a second. We're going to adjust the camera. Sorry.
It's gonna take quite a bit because I have to move all of this.
It takes too much time.
It's going to take at least 5-10 minutes.
Okay, I should have set it up differently and now I'm learning, but that's all right. Hi, y'all, because I realized that I am away from the Zoom, so I'm not able to do some of the things like see the chat. Kimberly has to do it all. That right there would allow me to do it.
I can get you the Zoom.
That's easier.
Your laptop.
Yeah.
On your laptop,
Yeah.
We can get you the
Okay, so our fabulous tech, Darrell, is helping me because I decided to sit over here because the camera was here. And I realized there's 2 stations I could have chosen. So that's where we're getting all of this together. But I'll continue until I can also join the Zoom and see y'all in the Zoom. But for now, I'm so happy to have so many of you joining us today. And again, this is really about us connecting and communicating on purpose. I want to start with kind of a general discussion that I'm going to open up here that shares, let me see. Oh, okay. Oh, wait, there it is. All right. That shares a couple of things here that we want to go over. You know, why is communications important? That is, there's a lot of answers to that. So y'all go ahead, feel free to tell me what you think, and I'll share some thoughts I have. And then Kimberly will help me share some of the thoughts y'all have over there. Why is communications important? Tell us why, right? At the end of the day, for me, the way that I see it is communications helps everyone understand what you're doing as an agency, an organization, an individual, an entity, a business, no matter what you're doing. Communication helps drive the understanding of what you're doing. The way that you communicate with your office or your audience is very important because for a lot of us, particularly in state government, we're doing a lot of work for Washingtonians. However, they're not able to really understand what we're doing unless they are specifically receiving certain services or they're connecting with us through our communications teams. So we're doing a lot of work by sharing what we're doing, opening up opportunities for other people to connect with us, you know, utilizing social media. Laptop. Thank you. Utilizing social media to make sure that we have this kind of two-way opportunity for communication, or to utilize some of the newer platforms that are out there for us to communicate with our audiences. So Kimberly, tell me what some folks think about why communications is important.
For understanding each other.
Understanding each other. Shout out to you who said that. Very true. Who said that?
Colleen Johnson.
Colleen Johnson. Thank you for that answer. So true. We practice communications in our daily lives every single day, right? And so you're absolutely right. Part of it is how we understand one another. Another one, Kimberly.
It's the voice of your voice.
Ah, so true, Jamie. The voice of your organization. How will people know what you're doing if you don't communicate it out? And ultimately, the only way that a lot of folks are connecting is through the way you communicate. So it's definitely the voice of your communication. Such a great foundation and so true. Okay, that's good. Thank you so much for participating in that and sharing why you think communications is important. Next up, how does communication help achieve goals? Well, some of your answers actually answer that, right? If it's the voice of your organization, then the only way folks know what your goals are is to share them, right? So some of this is so easy and basic, but it's true. These understandings help drive how you shape your communication with folks out there that are in your audience. So how does it help achieve goals? Well, you share your goals. Number one, you get the audience engaged in your goals by sharing them, which helps drive your achievement levels up even further. You also utilize communication to share out when goals have been achieved, right? So you get the audience to celebrate with you, which is also really important. And that becomes an exciting opportunity to engage even deeper with the audience. Next up, what do recurring styles of communication do for an organization? Well, this is where the consistency matters. You know, when we have newsletters, social media posts that are themed or that are parts of the day of the week, we begin to allow, okay, there we are. Thank you. We begin to allow for everyone to communicate with us and connect with us. So that level of engagement increases when your audience knows, look, I'm going to be looking every day of the week because this team does a message every day that really helps me start my day off right. Or it gives me something that I get to educate myself on further. So I'm connecting with these recurring opportunities for communication that allow for me as someone who's engaged with this office, this team, this governmental body, or this business, I get the opportunity to be engaged in what they're sharing and to be a part of it. So that's important. Also, I'll say this, recurring communication is something that is, for me as a comms director, it allows for our team to have some really identifiable goals throughout the week. So we know, look, we want to do a daily flow message. Right now, we have it going out on Gov Delivery. It's going to be going out on social media. We know that we need to create the content for that. When we think about our output, we're able to build our strategy up to make sure that we're meeting those goals and that output. So, what is our communications approach? Well, here we go. We love to be relational. For any of you who were in the general session yesterday morning, you understood that something that we're doing at the Office of Equity is a relational approach. Right now, we also have our shared power team and our PEAR teams sharing out how they do that work. But the relational approach is important because it allows us to build within our communities. If we're working to connect with community members statewide, how do we do that in a real intentional way? Well, we've got to be building relationships. You know, you can't really get a lot of your goals met or achieve specific outcomes by being in a bubble in state government or as a business or in an organization. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and be connected with the communities you are serving. For us in state government, we're serving all the communities in the state. So we have to be very intentional about building those relationships in communities. For us in comms and communications, what that really means is, well, how are we getting our messages out to smaller outlets? How are we on community boards and newsletters of organizations throughout the state? How are we being engaged in grassroots initiatives that allow for us to be partners with organizations who are leading those initiatives? How are we being intentional to be out and connecting with the people? This is a really intentional journey that I'm taking my communications team on, y'all, because the understanding of this being so, it magnifies our outreach. It magnifies our impact when we can be in the newsletter of a small nonprofit organization in Yakima, in Centralia, in Spokane, in Seattle, right? When they start seeing messages that are coming from us about the work we're doing, and we're sharing that in a way that says, not only are we saying we want to utilize your outlet to assist us in this, but we're actually connecting with you because we care that our message is hitting your network. We care to make sure your network is engaged and understands the work we're doing. There's something so special about these two bullet points here: building within communities and being engaged in grassroots initiatives. And the reason why is because not enough of us are doing this in state government, right? We're like, we got listserv, we got all these ways that people can connect with us. We open up the opportunities. It's on our website, click here. Maybe we're on social media, so we're telling them to constantly connect with us. It's like this one-way communication. But that doesn't really bode well if you're in person with someone, right? So you think about a two-way communication is better than a monologue. We need a dialogue here. Well, it's the same when it comes to how we put our work out there to the public. If we want to create opportunities and space for the dialogue, what we really want to do is we want to make sure that we're in the spaces where dialogue can exist. So if we want to connect and be intentional, we have to be really making sure that we're connecting in that way that says, no, not only are we saying connect with you, but we're going to find the ways to connect for us to connect, or yeah, for you to connect with us. We're going to find the ways for us to connect with you. So this is another way that leads into the next bullet point here of how we learn from Washingtonians. I tell my team all the time, we are the folks we are also serving. State government has a unique opportunity in that regard because we are Washingtonians. We're serving Washingtonians, but if we remember that key factor of, wait a minute, we're actually the ones that we're serving as well, it really changes the understanding of what we're doing here. And that moves it into that dialogue. Because I always ask myself, well, as a Washingtonian, how does this communication impact me? How does it affect me? How is it positively adding to my life? If there are some things that I can connect with in that message that say, this is how it's impacting me, this is how it's positively impacting my life, or this is why it's important for my children to know this, it guides me. So I'm not only learning from Washingtonians, I'm also making sure that I too am a Washingtonian. And so let me think about it from that angle. When you are engaged in grassroots initiatives and you are someone who volunteers in your community, you are someone who gets out in your community to build relationships in that intentional way, you also open up the opportunity for them to tell you what it is they need from your office, from your team, from your role. If we don't allow that, we sometimes lose sight of it because we get stuck in our own understanding of what we're doing. So this is why event opportunities are so important. Intentional communication means being in space within community. So when you have the opportunity to table or speak or present as a communications director, for me, this is a major facet of how I get my intentions out there to the public. It's a major opportunity for me to say, you know what? This is something that I care about, and I'm going to be here in this space to make sure that others can connect with my care for the work. But they get that when I'm in person, when I'm in their spaces, when I am talking to community members about this work. It's not for me to say, I'm going to put my communications director hat on now, and I'm going to tell you about all this great work we're doing. It's like, no, I'm here to let you know about some things, but I'm opening up the conversation so I can learn from you. If I'm tabling, I have my resources out. I'm telling you, yeah, here's the ways that connect with us. These are the channels we have. But ultimately, those opportunities allow for more one-on-one engagement and interaction that allows community members to walk away from that engagement and say, man, okay, now I know who's at the helm of that work. Now I'm more inclined to join in on their social media or sign up for that newsletter because now I know some of the people that are creating it. It's not just like in the void or, whoa, this is just coming together. No, now you know who's there because we're showing our face, we're connecting in that way. And I'll talk more about personalization in a minute. So this is why presenting, speaking, tabling, taking advantage of event opportunities is important. But also I'll say this, even if you're not tabling, speaking, or presenting, being present is the number one thing. And I don't have a bullet point for it because I wanted to make sure that, yeah, these are some of the official ways of being at events. But how can you unofficially be at an event as an attendee, connecting with other people? And now you're actually having open opportunities for that conversation to take place in a real authentic way. I say all the time, I just show up as my authentic self. I don't know who else to be other than TraeAnna Holiday, right? I think that's true for so many of us. But when we work in state government, oftentimes we put on our state government hats. And it's like, we're showing up because of my role. in state government, or I have some work I need to do and I want to make sure you know about that. But when do we show up as just us so that folks can connect with us? We are people. Yes, we may represent organizations or institutions, and for state government, that's huge and it's big and it's vast. But people don't often care about that. They don't care about your role as much as they care about you as a human being. So I think sometimes we have to be able to just be present at events because we're supporting an organization. We're supporting a volunteer group. We're supporting our children's school. And so then people are connecting with you in that regard. I think it's so key here. And that's another facet of communications that oftentimes does not get talked about. Because if people can say, wait a minute, but I know her because she just volunteers. I didn't even know she was a comms director. I didn't even know she worked for state government. I just know her. So then when the other opportunities come down the line, the relationship is there. So they're like, well, I'm coming to support you. I didn't even realize this was all the things you're doing. Great, because I didn't lead with that. Because I just led with my authentic self and to connect with another human being. So that's really important. Now, I want us to take a few minutes here for everyone to kind of jot down any connections that you may have to nonprofit organizations or community groups or volunteering. Just write down, take about 5 minutes, write down some institutions that you may be connected with that are outside of your role. Now, if you're working in a nonprofit, you can also share that, but I would love to get some answers from y'all about some of the other things you may be connected with that are not necessarily connected to your role. So if you are at a nonprofit, talk about other nonprofits you're connected with. I'll give y'all about 5 minutes to do this, and then you can start putting it in the chat and we'll highlight some of these answers. No, I think that was maybe almost close to 5 minutes, maybe. Silence, sometimes you never know. But thank you for these answers. Shelley, a member of the American Legion Auxiliary. Thanks so much, Shelley, for sharing that. Volunteer with the Boy Scouts of America. Thanks, Deanna. Elizabeth Kitsap, Emergency Management Crisis Text Line. Be My Eyes. Oh, volunteering for hospice. Yes. So needed. Union Gospel Mission, Colleen, thank you. Yakima Valley Pet Rescue and the VFW, thank you. Chad, a member of VFW, Post 1435 and Combat Vet Riders. Thanks so much, Chad. Wow, Irene, this is impactful here. Before I became disabled, I taught yoga for 9 years with Yoga Behind Bars and wrote my dissertation on how yoga impacts incarcerated women. I need to find volunteer work that I can do as a person with a chronic illness and an unpredictable body. Wow, thank you so much, Irene. I know of Yoga Behind Bars. It's an amazing program. Thank you. Jamie, volunteering at your son's school whenever you can and helping the PTA with comms and social media. Awesome. We can bring our expertise, our talents to some of these volunteer opportunities. Great. Megan, Lewis County Accessible Recreation, parent to parent outdoor, parent to parent, and then outdoors for all. Wow. Connect individuals to these resources in my role at DDA. There we go. See, because you know of these things, now you have the way to connect. Thank you so much, Megan. And local workforce development boards, 12 across the state. Oh, wow. And amazing. That's given in some serious ways. This is amazing. Okay, shout out to the local blood banks. We got you, Ashley. Donate blood if you can. Agreed. I did some work with Northwest Blood Works, so I'm here with you. Amuno, I hope I said that right. Amuno, communications helps us build relationships and maintain them. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. You're so right. Elizabeth, list for canine search and rescue. Mostly that's just playing hide and seek with the dogs for training. Oh, I love that. For those dog lovers out there, phenomenal. All right, KD, you're not connected to any for work, but a board member of a nonprofit called Puppy Rescue Mission, helping bring dogs to the U.S. for military members that are served in war-torn countries. Wow. Dogs or cats, okay, are the only thing like home for our members, and it helps so much with their mental health. Beautiful. Thank you, KD. Ross, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Washington State Court Interpreters, U.S. Army JAG Corps. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Ross. These are all amazing organizations, y'all. Helsley, promoting community events through Washington Immigrant Network's webpage and social media. Yes, thank you. We need that promotion out here. It says S. George 540 Food Bank Volunteer, Harbor Landing Food Pantry. Thank you so much. These food banks are all volunteer based, so I appreciate that work. Anna, Healthcare Transportation Project with Human Services Council. Thank you, Anna. Marcia, KL, Second Harvest Food Bank. Right on. Ariel, love volunteering. And lastly, Liz volunteered several years with the First Alaskans Rescue, often for their annual Elders and Youth Conference, one of the most meaningful experiences of my life. Thank y'all for sharing. But, because when we share, we also invite other folks to understand us more. When we volunteer, a lot of the impetus for volunteering is that we already connect with a certain group or their mission or vision or values, right? And they're in alignment with the work we either want to do or some of the work we are doing, and we want to expand on that. So I loved being able to see a plethora of answers here, some that were connected to work and others that weren't, because ultimately how we give of service is a true reflection of how we are of service in our role, for those of us who are in state government here on the call. If you're not, you're still in a sense doing something, even if you're a single entrepreneur of a like S Corp or one person LLC or something. You are serving of yourself in a certain way. And there's a reason, there's an impetus behind that, right? That is really about providing a product or a service for others. So ultimately, there's always going to be the need to connect with customers or clients, whatever your business model has for your business to thrive. There's something that you're providing. So when we see ourselves as service folks, it gives us the inclination to be service minded. And so I just wanted us to dive deep. Now, one thing I'll say is that all of the answers here, and for those of you who maybe didn't answer, but you have some, all of that are really opportunities for you to be showcasing some level of building relationship that then has you out here as a Washingtonian helping others, serving others, solving problems for others that then allow for you to have a well-rounded purview of some of the opportunities that are around you, which is great. Let's see here. So this is going to be a little bit interesting because Kimberly's going to help us out because we're going to work to try to, share together. So we have about 104 in the room. So maybe we can do a few breakout rooms of, let's see, 104 divide by, I don't know how many rooms, 20 rooms. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Colleen, for being here. Help your customer. Thank you. 45? 4 to 5. Yeah, there we go. That's perfect. So we're going to put you in some breakout rooms real quick. Get with your breakout teams, explain why you're connected to the groups you are, jot down some of the notes that your team, your folks from your team share so you can kind of compare your answers. And then I would love for you all to think about a couple of ways that you can incorporate maybe some of the things that others are doing to add to your communication and relationship building strategy. And we'll be in these groups for about 10 minutes. Thanks. No. I wanted to bounce in around in the rooms, but yeah, they can. Just give people a chance to connect. If I see 29 participants, that means they're not joining the room. Okay, that's okay too. No problem, y'all. That's okay. Can I take this time to move? I didn't know. See, I should have been in here earlier. Thank you so much. Like this? Okay,
It's all up to you.
yeah, that's good. As long as I don't have to hold it. What is this then? Oh, okay. This one is cool. Oh, thank you. Okay, now I'm a little bit blurry. Okay. Mhm.
Gonna be there.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Thanks, y'all. Darrell's over here getting me right on camera for those of you who are still with me.
Is that gonna work for you?
Perfect, thank you. And like cut all the things down. Logitech? Yeah. I see the Logi on there. Appreciate you adjusting it. Okay. Do you know what time we started, Kimberly? Okay. Only about 5 more minutes, y'all. Oh, sorry, it blurred me again because I got off camera. I'm being difficult today, Dr. Darrell, my bad. It's, yeah. All right. There we go. Hmm. Mhm. Oh, I'm here. Right. What's that mean for your industry? What's that mean for your industry? Mhm. Yeah. All right. We're good to go. 2 more. Oh, okay. 2 more minutes. Learned a lot from, were you doing it yesterday? Mhm. Okay. I can't believe it's already been 50 minutes. No, I mean the whole thing. Oh my God. Yeah, this is okay. I'll accept that. And over here, I can see the time. Over there, I couldn't. Yeah, this is better. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. We lost several folks. As soon as I said, we're going to join breakout groups, people were like, oh, I'm out of here. No, I just wanted to be virtual. It's all good. That's okay. But thank you so much for joining, for connecting with other folks. I was going to ask folks to share what they learned. You could pop some things in the chat. If there are some things that you really were like, wait a minute, there are some great things that I could take away from this conversation, maybe some things you can apply, or setting some goals for when you can do it. This was really about figuring out how you can be in the real world with communication and what it would look like for you to kind of embed some of the strategies that others were doing. So you could take a second if you want to pop some things in there. If not, keep them to yourself and we'll move on. Sound good? All right. Thank you so much for joining those rooms. We'll take some time if folks share. Kimberly can let me know and we'll make sure we highlight some of those great ways that y'all are going to be applying some new methods to yourself being out in community. Well, another thing about communications is innovation is key. So many of us know this, right? And it's not just about social media or the fact that we're in this ever-changing technological society now. We're all so used to it. It's in our pockets or in our hands with the phones everywhere we go. And so this is important for us to remember that it's for communication in particular, people are drawn to creativity, which oftentimes is driven by innovation. So if you're doing the same things all the time, you only have one icon that you're using, people are going to just visually, it's not appealing. They're going to get used to it and they're going to be like, you know what, I'm okay. Now, it's not the same in regards to what we see with major brands. We know the Coca-Cola brand as soon as we see it. We know the Nike sign as soon as we see it because we're inundated with those icons, right? They have become such a normalized part of our society that we know exactly what it is when we see it. And part of that is beneficial in communication because it is the repetition of seeing something that then anchors it in our own psyche about where it is or why it is or what it is, right? And so there's parts of that that really are beneficial to communication. But when you're thinking about how you drive audience engagement, how you drive your audiences up in terms of participation with your communication, you want to be innovative as you can. And in state government, there is this balance between us accepting and embracing layers of innovation and also being very mindful of the dollars that we spend on communication or, on some of these new age softwares, which have to go through security design review. For those of you who are state government employees, it's a serious process to make sure that we can embed new softwares into what we do. And for those of you who are out of state government, there's probably another process you go through to make sure that anything you're utilizing is not going to harbor on the information or intellectual properties you have. But these innovative strategies help to drive key audience interest. And this is very specific. If you start to do some demographics and understanding what your audience is into, like, oh, we have a lot of, 18 to 24 age folks who are engaging with us. All right, what are some of the things we're doing that's bringing that audience in? When you understand what you're doing that is bringing in a specific demographic of your audience, well, look, when we're looking to target more of that demographic, we can do more of those things. And so innovation will bring in different levels of audience engagement, but it also allows you to kind of connect when say, oh, wait, we tried this new method or we utilize this fun way of doing something, and that brought in more folks. Okay, we need to do more of that. So you're able to utilize a lot of those demographics to your benefit. Also, you want to keep up with the market trends in communications. You don't want your communications to look boring or old unless it's on purpose, right? So you can do things that are specific and say, no, we're going back into nostalgia here, right? I'm doing some really fun, cool things with like 90s vibes again, because it's trending again. People are back on it. Some of the music that was from the 90s, you're seeing kind of the same music being created in that same kind of style. I'm seeing music videos that are kind of showcasing some of those 90s vibes. So there's something that's trending when it comes to the 90s themes. And so, hey, let's harp on some of that. Let's play around with that. Let's do some things in some cool bubble graffiti style that reminds us of that time. So there's fun ways to incorporate market trends without being completely driven by them. So I would say that's something that you can embrace and embed in your communication strategies. And then give yourself creative flexibility. At the end of the day, communication is it's better when we're creative. It grows when we're creative. So be creative. I love to check with my team. What are some of the things that you're into now that we can incorporate? What kind of podcasts are you listening to? What are they talking about? How can we kind of, harp on some of the interests of our team to drive our own creativity? So you got to be open to the different ways to be creative when you're in communication. If you're really stuck in a box, unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily drive a lot of engagement with what you're creating. And for me, that's really key, because we want to make sure that, especially as a young office, we're just now really growing our social media. I think we have like a few followers, right? So how can we start to grow that audience? We definitely have to embrace creative flexibility. So this is, let me see here if I can see the whole thing. Oh, I'm going to go like this. Okay. So there's something specific about personalizing your messaging. And so I talked about this a little bit earlier, but when I told you I would harp on it a little bit later, people connect to other people. So yesterday was an example of it. And I have been sharing this with some other teams in state government, that one of the things I'm excited to do is showcase the people behind the work. That's something that's so exciting for me, because I don't know how, can I use this to click? Because this thing is, I'm sorry, y'all, there's something on my screen. The breakout rooms are still on my screen, and I don't know how I can click off of that. Oh, I can do it right here. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't realize that I had the access. Thank you. Okay. So does that help? Okay. So people connect with other people. Yesterday, we got to showcase an example of that. And I'm excited because it was a great response. So we decided, yes, we're going to do a full-on annual report that'll be however many pages. I think it's like 20 pages or something like that. And we got to turn that into the governor, because that's a mandate for us, right? But I was like, if we have the printed version, why can't we do a video version of it and kind of do a video summary of it? And so those of you who participated or got to be there for the general session yesterday morning, you saw the annual report video. And so like my whole team was like, oh, I don't know. There was people who were like, oh, we got to be on camera, but they embraced it. And honestly, the outcome was so tremendously well received. And that's what's exciting for me, is because when we put more staff in our communication, when we begin to do short clips that showcase why people are excited to do their work, how they do their work, what they want to share with the audience, it's not just about us creating a really cool document or infographic that does this. But when you put more staff in your communication, the people are connecting again with the people behind the work. And this is something that excites me, y'all, to bring it to state government, because as a Washingtonian, I haven't been able to really experience the high levels of that particular strategy throughout government communications my whole life of being here. I've lived other places, but come back. And honestly, I'm like, that's one way that we can start to change the game and drive a connection to our work by putting the people on camera, creating podcasts, whatever it is that you can do that say, no, we're going to be putting ourselves out there as a way to showcase this is not only important to us, but here's why it should be important to you. You invite the audience to connect with you in a deeper way by having yourself out there on camera. And I would say this to any comms director out there, especially, or any person who is on a communications team, start thinking about how you can showcase the people behind the work. There might be something fun that you want to do or a new initiative that you're rolling out. It's a great time to then put some folks on camera, to get some audio of folks so that you can create some really fun content that also embeds their voice into it, because there's something so special about us connecting with other people. And it definitely has profound effects on how folks receive your messages. Again, it's one thing to read a document, it's another thing to see the content, right? So let's personalize our communications more. When we think about some of these things, I would love to hear from some of you. Put it in the chat here. Share some innovations that you already do, some tools, some resources, or other ways that you drive innovation in your work. It could be that you are part of an admin team and you've decided that, look, one of the ways that we show our staff appreciation is this. And it's been innovative because it didn't happen before in our office, and now we're doing it, or at our agency, and now we're doing it. It could be that you've developed a new filing system. And so you were like, we realized that our filing system was antiquated. It was a bit older. We decided to uplift the idea that we can do it this way. So it doesn't have to be communications driven. It can be a lot of different things that you do. So I say results in communication, but it could be results in your staff, in organization, in whatever is important to you. So I'll give a couple minutes here, not many, but a couple minutes for you to talk about or share maybe in the chat some of the ways that you're utilizing some innovative strategies or tools, or maybe some things that you created that was like, I don't know if this is going to work, but let's try it. And maybe you have some amazing results from trying something new. A couple minutes here, and yay, people are starting to put things in the chat. Thanks. Kimberly can share with me. Go ahead. What we got?
Kelly, change lyrics to iconic songs to reflect the work.
Kelly, changing lyrics to popular songs to drive, to talk about some of the work you're doing. Fantastic. Well, that's fun, right? That is fun. What's next?
Deanna says, I do document bugs. I find in the computer program
Ooh.
correct
Deanna, document bugs. Who would have thought of that, right? So you're using document bugs to.
Okay, to find the computer program.
Define computer program and policy. I mean, thank you for sharing that. This is what I'm talking about. It could be in so many different realms. What else we got?
COVID reflection moment, switching everything from a
Oh, COVID switch from paper to electronics. Innovation at its core. I think so many of us have had to make those COVID adjustments. Amazing. Who shared that?
that was Ryan.
Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. What's up next, Kimberly?
Says, I was really inspired by the audio collage shared by the session.
Yes, audio collage. Now, this is something that people in community have been doing for some time because of the loss of information when it comes from one generation to another, or when we think about gentrified areas. How do we capture what was once what once was? And that's important. And so thank you for sharing that. Yes, the audio collages and being inspired by that is a great way to capture some stories and share them in a fun way. That's amazing. What's next?
Colin says, I invite employees feedback on what they prefer to see.
Yeah, Colin, inviting employee feedback in what they want to see in communication. So true. How do we incorporate the team into this? How do we make sure that folks understand how that we're actually doing some things that folks want to see? Love that.
Yep. Ashley also says feedback. She got feedback on the email templates.
See, Ashley, feedback on the email templates you use and made new templates so that you can incorporate that feedback. Perfect. How about two more?
Jen looks for the broken things within our system and finds a way to improve.
Jen, thank you for looking for things that are broken in our system and finding new ways to do that, especially with tools. We appreciate that because we know there are some things that we need to fix. Thank you for being one of the folks out there fixing them. One last one, Kimberly.
Kelly says, I did a Mad Lib style training that engaged people to actively show how to
Oh my gosh. Okay. Kelly, Mad Libs training to show people what?
how to use a change planning.
How to use a change planning template. Y'all are brilliant. First off, thank you for sharing, because this is the kind of stuff that gets exciting for me because I'm learning from you all as well. Thank you for sharing. I mean, this is what's so exciting, is that we all can bring a level of innovation, thought, and creativity to the next wave of the work that we're doing in our agencies or in our offices. So this is really important. Thank you for all that sharing. Brilliant, y'all. Brilliant. Some of those things I would have never thought of, right, Kimberly? Like, that's just who thinks of that? Y'all are great. Next, we want to talk a little bit here about social media, because we know that when we start thinking about innovation and technology or driving new age ways of doing things, social media has become such a huge facet of our society. So how we utilize social media to our benefit is by making sure we're on top of it first and foremost. This is an audience that's microwave. It's pop. It's like this, one after another. We have to feed the machine. I think that's what social media has shown us more than anything, is that people will engage with your content if you stay consistent. That is really a key factor of being engaged on social media. And so that's why, again, for us as a new team, I was very explicit about not starting our social media channels until we could feed them, until we had our social media strategy up, and until I had built the team up enough to now have two amazing creatives who we can all come up with the things that we need to be putting on our social media. Because one message every couple weeks does not feed the machine. You have to be very consistent, and that's how you begin to utilize social media to your benefit, because people are drawn to the content you're putting out there. So how can you utilize tools to make sure that your content is scheduled well in advance, to make sure that you have something that's going out daily, or if not daily, maybe every other day. You want to be consistent there. And that's how you can really utilize it to your benefit. But also, again, it's a way to share what you're doing. And it's a way to do it in a way that, or it's a pathway that does it in a style that people are already ingesting every single day. People are on their social media all the time now, right? And so we have to be able to be, incorporating that into what we're doing in communication. Earlier, I talked about demographics. Social media helps you identify your target audience. Now, a lot of folks will say, but no, you should have your target audience before you engage, which is true as well. But what you realize is that when you do the reporting from social media platforms, right, it'll show you where engagement is. It'll give you a deeper insight about how to identify your target audience and incorporate those demographics into what you're doing. So it's a both and here, right? Yes, you want to understand this message is we're doing something specific for veterans. Our target audience is veterans from, that were in the military from this time to this time. You may have some real specific targets there. But when you put the media out, you realize, wait a minute, we're seeing a lot of engagement from folks who are looking to go into service in the military. So maybe, although we may have been thinking about this in terms of veterans, we didn't realize that recruits or possible recruits would be a major part of who we're speaking to here. So that's why that's one of the ways that you can utilize those reports to your advantage. And then, of course, there's tips for algorithms. And there's just one main one that I want to share because I think there's a ton. But for sake of time, I want to make sure I talk about cross-posting. Cross-posting allows you to post a similar or same message on multiple platforms. And it really helps drive engagement and drive more audience collaboration. Now, if someone's following you on Facebook and on Instagram, for instance, now you can put the same message out to both platforms easy. But by utilizing a tool, Hootsuite is one. I think there's a bunch of other tools that allow you to say, this is the message we're posting on this day. Have it go out to everything we have, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever it is. You can now utilize certain tools that allow you to proliferate your messaging in a way that really helps the algorithm pick it up. Because when it's something that is similar and then your audience starts to share it out or engage with it by putting likes and comments and reposting it or whatever, now the algorithm is seeing your message in a multiplied way. So it starts to move it up into the feed of your audience. And it allows for you to connect with other folks because it also can put it out there for those who are not a part of your audience. So there's ways to utilize social media like Reels, right? For instance, or these TikToks that then go from TikTok over here to Facebook, to Instagram, and they become a reel on Instagram. Now, people that aren't even following you are seeing it if they're just scrolling through Reels. They're able to see this and they're like, wait a minute, hold on, let me click more into this. So it gives a pathway and an opportunity for you as a communicator of what you're doing to get it out there to other people. So that's just one. Cross-posting is a huge tool. I think most communications teams are using now because we realize we don't have to differentiate our messaging so much on all of these platforms. Now, there's some areas where it's good to do that because maybe for LinkedIn, it's more professional. So you want to make sure that the way that you may post about a job there might be slightly different than how you post about it on Instagram. You can have a little bit more fun maybe on Instagram, and on LinkedIn, you might want to just be like, hey, here's the job posting. We got a job opening. So there may be some differences there with cross posting, but it definitely does help overall. We also want to think about using what we have, okay? Using what we have. We can maximize the tools that are already provided for us. For those of us in public service here with the government, we have GovDelivery, right? It's already there. There's a built-in templates for your newsletter. There's, a lot of these plugins that you can put into there. You can create your different lists about what you want to share. For us, I think we have about 5 or 6 because there's opportunities where we want folks to show up and speak up. And that's exactly what it's called. Show up, speak up, right? There's opportunities for us to be very specific in our messaging with our newsletter. So we have a channel that's really specific for that. We also have one that just invites people to understand certain things that may be outside of our work with news you can use. So these are just some examples of some of the ways that we have segmented out our communication that allow us to maximize the tool of Gov delivery in a way that's helpful. We also have email listservs. Once you start getting folks to subscribe to your newsletter, subscribe to your social media, or even at an event like this, getting all of those registrations in allows for us now to have an email listserv. How are we going to utilize that to make sure that people know about the work we're doing? How can we utilize government listservs to proliferate our messaging? For those of you who are government employees, you may have seen that we put this event out there through the governor's listserv, where it went to 67,000 Washington state employees. Hey, come on down to the Office of Equity's annual convening. Here's some of the things that you may see there. Here's some of the ways that you may want to engage and be present. And those are messages that we have access to like twice a year from our team. But if your team is sharing something that you think is beneficial to all of the state government employees, try to tap in with that listserv as well. And then your media channels. And this is a bit different because TVC is different than social media. Now we're talking about governmental TV. How are we utilizing governmental TV to benefit our messaging, to make sure it's getting out there to the community? That's really cool. Here are some the newsletter breakdown that I want to share. And I'm going to actually share an example. I was going to give us a break, but we took a little bit of a break when we went into our breakout rooms. And so I got about 15 minutes or so left. So I'll go into the example of our newsletter, but you want to utilize themes in your newsletter. These themes help your audience sometimes go right to the section that's important to them, because they're going to see, oh, wait, here are the topics they're covering. I want to go right to this specific topic. So having a theme of each newsletter gives your audience something to kind of sink their teeth into. Again, that consistency is key. We love to be putting newsletters out every other month because we also know there's a lot of other newsletters. So we're like, let's just pace ourselves. We'll do about 6 a year, right? We don't need to do 12. We'll do about 6. But that will be consistent because people will know, oh, wait, their newsletter comes out around this time every other month. So I'm ready for it when it comes to my inbox. Your style and your creativity and in your design is important. So creativity matters here. Of course, you want to share that vital information. And again, you want to have that specific layout that then your audience is connecting with. We'll skip the break. There we go. Here's our example. I'm showcasing to y'all the example of the newsletter we just put out earlier this month. We had a lot to share in this newsletter. So the reason why I'm sharing this example is because it kind of showcases a lot of the possibilities that you can do. I wouldn't typically suggest that you put this much information in a newsletter, but this month we had a lot going on and we wanted to share it out. So of course, we love to start with a specific message from our office. This is a way that we get to connect with folks and make sure people understand kind of where we're at in this particular month. Then here's our breakdown. This is what you can expect out of this newsletter. So again, it gives it to you right up front where you can see, oh, okay, wait, I only care about the relational partnership resources because I need to do my consultation with the shared power team and I need to see what kind of tools they were bringing. Or maybe you just wanted to know about the convening. So you can go right there, which was right underneath it here, the registration for the We the People Convening, making it easy by putting the button there for people to register, click right into it. A little bit of a tidbit about the schedule so that you could see that. This was important for us because we're like, what is going to entice people to come? Well, we got to share a little bit about what they may get if they come. So that was a part of why we did this in this specific newsletter. Then we wanted to introduce belonging because we knew that we were going to be introducing it here. And so we gave you a video to watch. Y'all saw the video yesterday in the general session, we got great feedback from it because folks are understanding belonging is happening and it's all over. How do we not make it trendy, but we also capture the reason for us to be a part of belonging and for our work to be a part of belonging? How do we do that? So we're grateful that we were able to connect with some folks and make this video happen, making it easy again, right there with the button for you to click and watch the video right there embed in the newsletter. Then we wanted to give you this one pager that was created for us about making belonging real in Washington State. Here are some of the things that we're going to be doing to, again, attach to the message of belonging so everyone can understand where we're coming from when we talk about belonging. Then we were excited because we did launch a Where We Belong podcast, where we are bringing state government voices to the table to talk about belonging from their perspective. What does it look like in other agencies? How are we as state employees responding to this new age way of understanding the difference between belonging and inclusion? You know, what does that look like as we work for something that has been in existence for a long time, and now we're wanting to shift and change so that all Washingtonians feel as though they belong? I think this is something that is so nuanced in how we do it as a state government, because I think a lot of us are like, but I work in public service. I'm here. We care. We want, how do people not feel as though they belong? Right? That's the work of what we do. That's why we're here. But we know statistics keep showing us, data keeps showing us there's a lot of people that maybe we're not engaging with. So how can we do that intentionally? And then here are the relational partnership resources next. So they had a video that just allowed for them to share a little bit about what they're going to be doing. It gave you a snapshot or a synopsis of all the work that they're going to be bringing out soon. So they created this trailer video, and we made it easy right there again for you to click in and watch that. And then we wanted to showcase their relational partnership, 7 pit stops, 1 pager. This again kind of identifies some of the things that are talked about in the trailer so you can understand exactly what these pit stops on the road to relational partnership looks like. And we always want to end with a thank you to our audience, and also ways to make sure that this is accessible. So there's opportunities to download the plain Word document there, and also download the PDF if you want to. And then lastly, connecting with us. As a comms team, we're always like, here's how you connect with us. That's important because we want to make sure we make it easy for us to be having that level of engagement. Up next, partnerships in your communication strategy is important. Building out your internal team by identifying the team strengths you need. What are the end goals we have in mind here? How do I get the proper professionals and experts in their field to be a part of my team so I can make sure I am producing those end results I need? Who do I need to communicate with effectively and efficiently on my team? How am I doing that? By making sure I have the right amount of people to do that work. And how do I maximize the creativity and ingenuity of my team? Well, when you're hiring people and you're like, man, for creatives, we're looking at the profiles. Show me what you've created. Show me the content so that I can begin as a comms director. I'm like, so I can begin to understand how to incorporate that into what we're wanting to produce. How can I utilize your talents and gifts to the best ability so that we're creating the greatest content for the audience? Learning and implementing is always there, because I'm learning something so I can figure out how to implement it for my team, identifying areas for growth and professional development. Maybe there's something my team doesn't do so well. Well, how can we do professional development so that they can learn? One of the things that we're working on is animation. How do we animate things and make it look cool and fun? Creating new positions to be filled because we realize there's a void on our team. And for some, this may not be as easy because if in order to have a position, you got to have a budget for it, right? But identifying the need helps you then go after the budget because you can say, this isn't happening on our team, but we need it. So we need to bring someone in to be able to do that. And then getting tips from other agencies and offices and other creatives allows you to continuously learn so you can implement new strategies into your approach. Contract and networking, building your network up and working with contractors in the meantime to fill certain voids, right? That's important. We did that because we were such a small team originally. So some of the work that you saw yesterday, some of the work I pointed to today, that was amazing because we brought contractors in to get the work done. If you have the opportunity to do that and contract with folks, utilize those opportunities because it also helps you build relationships and it goes back into the learning and implementing because you are learning from other creatives. And then facilitating connections to help seed other creative opportunities. Once you start working with different networks and contractors, you can then help them connect together so that they are building. Before I let you go, I'm going to talk a bit here about the Digital Equity Forum. This is an amazing opportunity for state government to showcase how much we care about digital equity by providing it. So I want to get to this amazing video that we worked with a contracting team on to showcase and highlight some of those stories of folks who have been engaged in the Digital Equity Forum. This is a way for us to make sure internet and broadband is expanded to communities that don't have it. That's what it is. And it brings an opportunity for us to, again, showcase digital equity is important to us as a state government. Here are some of the ways that we are providing digital equity resources across Washington state, which is another way that it affects us all because there's so many areas that don't have access to internet or broadband. So this is one of the ways that we've done that.
Point Salmon is it's connected to Bingen, and between the two towns, it's actually based off of a small Germanic town. I was active in the U.S. Army, and I served for 10 years. Well, the current connectivity just in the actual city of White Salmon is not where it should be. It definitely glitches a lot. Out in my area where I live, it's actually even worse. We just don't have the speed.
This area is a haven for veterans. We've got a disproportionate number of veterans in this area because it's the place they want to live. If they're in the VA system and they're trying to talk to their doctors, they have some difficulty because the connectivity doesn't allow them. Because some of the areas away from here are a little bit more challenging than White Salmon itself. You just don't realize how much easier life would be if you did have that difficulty.
I served 7 years. I served from 2007 to 2014 in the United States Marine Corps. Deployed in 2010. I would get 3 megabytes per second, possibly up to 10. I wish it was easier to get service out this way.
I am a veteran, U.S. Marine Corps. We just don't see competition moving into the area. There has been zero upgrade or difference or improvement in your service. In fact, it's more challenging now, it seems like.
I was in the Army in 1967 in the buddy file. Well, we don't have the options to have various companies so we can get a good price and they're small quality equipment in the city. I should treat it different.
Have you ever not been able to do something because you didn't have internet?
I understand you want to do college, but we can do that. If not, you're traveling back an hour and a half, 2 hours just to the actual valley to go back to school.
I went to school, our 3 kids, all of them up through about 6th grade. We faced internet challenges during school.
It doesn't read QR codes. It doesn't pick up any of those things that you need to get your standard discount. So I feel discriminated against.
When you lose the internet and not being able to help, somebody that walks in and they're just wanting a birth certificate, then, okay, guess what? I can't help you right now. My internet's down. And they need that birth certificate for a passport or for just legal purposes. So that then not only stops my job, but it stops their job as well with trying to process what they need to do that.
That's the frustrating part, because we don't exist here in the United States. We go to other countries, like, okay, they're light years away from this happening, but we know it exists, it's capable of being here. For some reason, it just hasn't reached these areas yet.
I just hope that we don't wait 6, 7, 8 years down the road just to be able to use our internet access that we've now had access to for how many years?
Wow. There it is. Thank you so much, Cheryl. I appreciate you for coming on board there with the video. Thank you. We do have the one that we released had the captions. So I realized this one didn't. So thank you, Cheryl. This is a way that we connected with contractors to make sure that the Digital Equity Forum voices were a part of the experience by going out to White Salmon, showcasing some of the issues that they have been experiencing. Again, we utilize some of the strategies I talked about earlier in terms of personalizing the message, allowing people to connect with other people, which was so beautifully done. So shout out to our contracting team, Converge Media, for making that happen. It was a great partnership and another way to showcase the ways that we can embed connection, partnership, and contracting into our work. Really quickly here, we're also working with an advisory board. Our community advisory board did some specific engagement to make sure that the opportunity and the offer to be in accepting applications for the advisory board was all over the state. So they did some common language in their communication, realizing that state oftentimes talks in jargon that's not always easy to understand. And they learned some lessons about how to navigate the institutional processes that they were experiencing, how to make sure that this was available to all state communities and state individuals or Washingtonians within the state. And then they realized there were some barriers. But one of the things they did was they said, we're going to call out who we want specifically here. So I love this communication. They created this ad that they put all over the place. This was in small local papers. This was in newsletters. This was in community boards. This was not just driven by our newsletter or again through communication. This was something that was all over the state. So they said, we're seeking these kinds of specific people. They targeted this so that folks felt as though they were a part of it and could apply, which they did. So they had over 100 applications. They did whittle it down, and they finally got to 11 folks who are going to be serving on our community advisory board. Really excited about that work. But being intentional to be led by community voice is why this board was created. But I love how they did the different language that they did in their communication as well. You see one in Spanish here. They had them in different languages, and they were, again, all throughout the state. In summary, we want to remember it's important to build relationships so our communications permeate throughout the community and the audiences we're targeting. Let's be intentional because it does make a difference and it's felt by your audience. Authenticity matters, and so does intentionality. Again, innovation keeps our engagement steady. When we are utilizing those innovative approaches, we're connecting with folks because they're getting used to innovation. So we're leveling ourselves up to match that. Again, this cross-posting can help your audience grow by spreading the message on social media platforms in a way that makes it easy for you to have one message that goes across all of them, but then we're connecting with all of the audiences that are there. Specific goal setting is a key element to identify the needs of your team. Having those goals means that you get to fill those positions to meet those goals. Through your enhanced partnerships, you can achieve your communications goals, just like I showed you with that White Salmon video. We didn't have a video production team. We had to go after a contract that allowed for us to make that happen. Your personalization has so many benefits, y'all. Show the people behind the message. People connect to other people. Create content that's directed toward those you're aiming to connect with. So just like you saw with the community advisory board, they said, here are the people we're seeking. Let's be intentional to call them out so they feel as though this is for them. which is important. And lastly, let storytelling be your guide in communication. Storytelling helps us not only share out what we're doing, but it does it in a way that people can digest easily. People connect with other people and they connect through stories that are being told by those folks. I think we may have time for one or two questions here. If anyone has any questions, I know we're up against the time, but if there are any questions, Kimberly, that folks put in the chat, I'm happy to answer them. Or you can also connect with us at connect@equity.wa.gov. Again, there I am doing the work. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at WA_OO Equity. For those of you who are not already following us, go ahead, give us a follow. We're growing our social media platforms and we're excited to be bringing more content your way. Any questions in there? We're good?
So far, Deanna says no questions. Love the energy. Glad to hear.
Oh, Deanna, thank you so much. Love that you were here. Thank you for joining me today and giving me some time to share with you how we communicate on purpose. And thank you to our interpreters. I appreciate you, Cheryl and Brenda. Thank you so much. We're good. Thank you.